Energy Espresso stands as a captivating gateway, merging the pulsating world of energy innovations with the deeply ingrained culture of coffee. Every episode serves as a fresh brew of ideas, featuring thought-provoking discussions on the latest in energy technologies, sustainability efforts, and the global transition towards greener alternatives. We invite energy experts, innovators, and thought leaders to share their insights and visions for a sustainable future. Energy Espresso is more than just a podcast. It's a community for those passionate about making a difference and those eager to learn more about the energy that powers our world and the coffee that fuels our days. So, join us on this journey and let's discover together the fascinating intersection of energy solutions and coffee culture, one episode at a time. The Energy Espresso podcast is brought to you by the following sponsors. Power is complicated, especially during the energy transition. Navigating the process can be confusing, expensive, and difficult to manage. AMP's diversified contract power generation fleet delivers fully managed power with mobile assets ranging from 35 megawatts through 2.5 megawatts, with the objective to provide a utility-like experience. Others call their service leased power or rental power. AMP refers to our service as turnkey contract power. If your organization is in need of temporary or long-term mobile generation for completions, drilling, production, compression, or in-field electrification projects, look no further. Our team is here to deliver excellence. Innovative power delivered so you can focus on business. Contact our team today to learn more. Let's talk power and get amped.
Good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining the Energy Espresso. My name is Dave Bosco, and we're recording live today from RPT Alliance here in Houston. And we're at their facilities over off the Beltway 290 area, and look forward to getting into the discussion with our guests today. I'd like to introduce Ryan and Tony with RPT. Guys, how you doing this morning?
Very good. Thanks for having us.
Good, thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all coming on.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Appreciate the opportunity. Looking forward to hearing and sharing some insights.
Awesome, man. Me as well. First off, you guys got a fantastic office here. It's beautiful. How'd you decide on this location inside of Houston?
Well, really being close to our clients in this area and kind of in a centralized spot to get to downtown and kind of service our clients easily. Mm-hmm. And really our employees too live in the area, so that kind of helps their commute.
Yeah. No, it's super convenient. I used to actually go, I'm not sure if you guys ever been to Huron Lakes, right over here to the east of us, mm-hmm. but used to be a really good value golf course. I don't know what happened to it since then. We used to go to that Sand Trap Grill.
Yeah. It's a different restaurant, but it's pretty good. We frequented there quite a bit a year or so ago when we were a little further up the Beltway. But no, I think a lot of our folks used to play there when it was a value buy.
Yeah.
Now it's a zero buy.
Exactly. I always thought the guy that owned that place was doing it for tax purposes or something like that. He never seemed like he cared about putting time into the course.
No. I think the housing market's paying more than the golfer.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, guys, we're going to go ahead and get the conversation energized and then get into talking about a couple of topics. But what we're going to enjoy today is a coffee that actually was roasted by a friend of the show and personal friend of mine, Reagan Rorschach with Stonebriar Commercial Finance. And what this is it's a similar type of blend that we had on the podcast with Reagan a couple of weeks ago. He takes bourbon, little pieces of wood, and actually infuses the coffee after it's done roasting. And then I went ahead and followed the same process that he did with the AeroPress, which is very similar to like a French press, pour over, cappuccino machine kind of combined. So that's what we're going to be enjoying today. And thank you again for Reagan for sponsoring the coffee for this episode. So cheers, fellas. Yeah. Enjoy.
Thank you.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Yep. Good start to the day.
It is.
Yeah.
You got to get the conversation energized with some coffee. And so we can hop right into that. I like to start off the show with kind of finding out, what do you guys do to get your day started coffee-wise and routine?
Yeah, interestingly enough, there's a group called District Roasters that's just right around the corner that we use in the office, but also at home. I really like it. One of the team members turned us on to them, that found them in a local farmers market, and said, hey, we got to try it. So I'm probably about 3 years now buying coffee from those guys, and they rotate their blends. So pretty cool, and it's also fun to support a local small business as well.
Totally.
Yeah, I'm mainly double espresso in the morning to get me going, and that's about it.
Nice. You guys got any routines that you follow after your cup of coffee to kind of get ready for the day?
Yeah, typically try to take the dog for a walk, get going, make a couple of calls while walking, trying to catch up with the teams. A lot of our projects are in different phases. So some of the stuff that's under construction, that allows me to catch up with the superintendents in the morning right after their safety meetings, and really kind of get a pulse of what activities are coming up for the day, if they're missing any materials, what are some hurdles that we can help, from offsite, get to them. So I typically do that on the walk and then make my way in and have third, fourth, fifth cup then.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm recently moved to Magnolia, so I spend my time drinking my coffee, looking out my back window, looking for deer in the morning. Been seeing deer pretty frequently now, so it's kind of a bit of a change from moving from closer to the city, out into, call it the sticks, or more rural environment. So
that's a peaceful way to get your day started.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like it. A little zen moment.
Yep.
So guys, if folks aren't familiar with RPT, because that's who we're here to talk about today, is your guys' business. If two of you could kind of share, what is RPT? What do you guys do? Some of the focal markets that you get into, and just share with us a couple of highlights that you'd like to.
Yeah, we're a full-service engineering design and execution team. So from basically pre-feed, feed, concept, all the way through all the material procurement process, and then ultimately issuing IFC drawings, and then oftentimes we support from a project management perspective as well as commissioning management, construction management. So, our goal is to be a part of the project as soon as we can, even try to help develop some. A lot of the folks have a skinnier team, if you will, and so they lean on us heavily during the conceptual phase and project development, and then we're able to then turn that into our core business of engineering design. So kind of an interesting way, and we love to try to get ahead of these opportunities as soon as we can. If you're reading about it in the news, we've probably been working on it for a year or so.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So on the cutting edge of a lot of these newer technologies and projects that are coming out, is that mostly industrial, oil and gas focused? What's your kind of core markets you guys look at?
Yeah, I think that's our core would be transmission, main gas transmission. But through that and through some of this energy transition time that we've seen the last couple of years, we're able to get into newer markets to support our clients as they're getting into newer markets. So our client base, historically, this is where they operate, and then now we're able to get further up the pipeline, if you will, follow the molecule, through e-frac all the way down through LNG export. So where traditionally we had just that middle segment, now we're able to support either end of it. So it's very cool from a project development perspective to support each of our clients kind of through that process from the molecule coming up to exportation.
That's super cool.
Yeah,
it's super cool. We're going to get into talking a little bit more about the projects that you guys are working on and some of the cool technologies you're involved with doing a lot of front end and kind of back end engineering on. But I'd like to kind of have you guys start. Maybe Tony, we could start with you. Where did you start your journey in your personal life to kind of get into the engineering business, right? Because I think that's a pretty cool one.
Yeah, so joined the Marine Corps fresh out of high school. Did that for 10.5 years, got some deployments under my belt. And then when I transitioned out, I was offered an opportunity on the engineering consulting side in project controls. And that's kind of where I got my foot in the door. in the energy side, doing engineering stuff, and kind of just built through that. Moved over to an operating company, and then went to another offshore operating company, and then another operating company, and then back over here. We started this engineering consulting business, and kind of gave me a broad spectrum of experience. Project services, you can kind of do any project, any type of project, but it helps to kind of understand the full life cycle and kind of the different types of projects. So offshore is a lot different than onshore. Different considerations. A lot of times it's billions of dollars on a project. So kind of just built through that, and that's kind of what I offer our team here is the project services experience, and we do a lot of that also to help the life cycle of the project for our clients.
That's awesome, man, and appreciate your service and serving our country.
Absolutely.
It's fantastic. Ryan, how'd you get started and get into engineering?
Yeah, it kind of interesting. When I went to school, I didn't want to get into oil and gas, and I wasn't going to move to Houston. And I've been here 13, 14 years. And
surprise!
Yeah, life is good.
That's awesome.
But no, I started my career at a company that was called Spectra Energy. Was able to start in their facilities engineering group. So my first day, we bought the turbine and compressor, an electric motor, and it was serial number 1 and 2 for both of those pieces of equipment, from the OEMs to a client. So really got to experience a lot on that first job. Ultimately followed it into the field during construction, stayed on for commissioning, and then about another year of operational support. So I got to learn a lot. We had a lot of things didn't go well. And so from a young engineering perspective, I got to be a part of a lot of cool conversations. Although we were dealing with the challenge, it was troubleshooting, problem solving on the fly. We're sending parts and equipment out that have never been tested. And so that was cool to be a part of that process. And I tell everyone I got 10 years of experience in like 12 months. And so took that. I ultimately moved to another operating company, and we executed one of the largest projects at the time, with facilities going in from West Virginia down to Mississippi, and that's where Tony and I met each other and started working. So then also Rhett and Paul, a couple of the other founders, similar backgrounds. Rhett and I worked together when I first started, and I think, Paul, you and Tony worked together at your first engineering consulting firm for a while. So kind of the four of us, decided there was an opportunity to do something a little different. So we started RPT, and we tell everyone we're a solutions-driven organization. Kind of tell us what your goal is, and we'll try to help you get there as efficiently as possible. That's
super cool. So you guys have known each other as a management and founding members team for a good while. Worked with each other outside of before establishing this business. Sounds like there was some baptism by fire, which is kind of for par for the course in oil and gas, sure. Right? We don't do anything slow. That's really cool. And we didn't open up with this. Ryan, your position at the company is president, right?
Yes.
Okay. And Tony, you're VP of
corporate services.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What is the rest of the management team? There's Paul, if I'm not mistaken, right? And
yep. So Paul is our vice president of operations. He handles all of our project management and procurement activities, and then Rhett's our VP of engineering, and that kind of explains itself.
Okay.
So,
awesome.
Yeah, and all of the engineering design team is under Rhett's purview.
Nice.
Yeah.
And as far as the size of your business, where did you guys start out when you were founded versus kind of employee-wise? Where are you at today?
Yeah, we're right at tenfold. So we've been in business just about 5 years, and we've grown almost 10x.
Wow.
So it's been a fun, fast journey. And I think the cool part about our industry, too, is it is coming back to being about relationships. I think COVID kind of was a good reset in that aspect. Is you can have all the processes in place that you want in order to do business, but really at the bottom, end of the day, it's often a phone call from person to person. Hey, I'm in a pinch, I need some help, or hey, I'm looking for someone to join my team. You got anyone you recommend? And we've been very, very fortunate to be able to pull some folks to join our team with a lot of prior experience with us and the industry. So that's been a lot of fun. Kind of makes it feel a little bit like family.
Yeah.
And then watch those folks grow as they take on more responsibilities and accountabilities, and truly, like you say, baptism by fire. I mean, it's been cool and it's been quick.
That's awesome. And I love how you guys talk about the family piece of this, because I think it's my experience, knowing you for a while, Ryan, you guys built a really, really good culture around here, and that kind of mentality that you can go into battle together,
yeah.
and somebody's got your six at that point is super important in a team dynamic, and being able to balance off of each other's strengths and weaknesses, right? That's why you build a really, really strong team where it's tough to figure out who's in charge.
Yeah. No, and I think from our organization perspective, we're very flat. We don't want a lot of layers of management, so we can make decisions quick. If you have an issue, you can elevate it quite quickly, but oftentimes you've got someone that can make that decision in the trench with you, so there's no need to revert back. So.
Yeah, no, and we're heavily involved with all our projects as a leadership team. I mean, we keep our finger on the pulse, and a lot of times we can be a part of the project team as well in certain instances. So, that's part of what I think we like to do, as well as running the business. There's an element of staying in the action, I guess. So, got to
really
stay
cool.
sharp.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I want to get into what you guys identified as kind of a white space inside of this industry, right? There must have been a reason why you said, and you had mentioned it earlier, Ryan, like, hey, some customers don't have is maybe deep of an engineering team, using my words, to be able to leverage building out resources and things like that. Where was the opportunity where you guys said, contract engineering,
yeah.
for lack of a better term, is really something that oil and gas customers, industrial customers could take advantage of, and see that as a new business model for you guys to go ahead and establish. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I think with some of the I'll say 50, 70-year-old operators, there's a certain level of overhead that you eventually accumulate, and it was a challenge when we were at those places trying to keep overhead down, and so you saw probably 5-7 years ago a lot of groups able to start up these companies and move quite a bit of gas with almost no overhead. So they're able to the rates are better. They're able to win more contracts. And what they were doing was, there's expertise out in the market. Let's go find that, and it will be for a 12 to 16 month period, not indefinite. And so we saw that as an opportunity to bring our experience from some of the major operators with a lot of historical knowledge that we were able to gain while working there, while also being able to be a smaller company and move quickly. One of the guys, when I first started, ran a manufacturing company, and he said, these large operators are like battleships and bathtubs. They don't move easy and they don't move quick. And so we, got to see that while we worked there. And then you see some of these newer companies that are very nimble, quick to market. And so we were able to support them. And then, twofold, now we're able to take some of those experiences and go back to the larger operators and say, a little bit of a changing market, and we know you guys have to be cost competitive. Let us try to help you, review all your specs and standards and see how you can have a more fit for purpose solution.
That's really cool. And I would imagine on top of that, you're able to go to them and say, look, we've got a well-rounded base of experience as well, right? We don't just live in the vertical of a single operating company that has the blinders on and they think, hey, there's one way to do business. I think that's what's maybe a little differentiated about an operator coming to you or any other company, right? You've got well-rounded experience, a lot of different project bases that you guys are able to not necessarily pull information from, but it's experience, right?
Right. Well, and they can come to us and say, 70% of this is non-negotiable. What can I do with this other 30%? And that's really where we thrive and are able to bring those ideas and really just challenge the status quo. I mean, that's basically our founding principle, was we just wanted to do things differently. Challenge the historic way of doing things, make sure that it's still the right way moving forward.
I think that was centered around how projects are executed. You take the element about what the project is out of it, and you just go, okay, from the beginning of how it's developed all the way until it's in service, what's the best way to get there. And engineering is a big part of that, but also construction's a big part of that. So you got to really consider who's going to be installing the stuff on the back end. You're not just throwing an engineering package over the fence and saying good luck.
Yeah.
We typically try to stay involved, and I think that's where our experience, here at RPT, we have that full life cycle experience. So it helps kind of from the engineering aspect, but also all the way through to getting it in service. And so that helps our clients really capture that value to where, maybe we can save some money on the construction side by engineering and designing some things into the solution.
Yeah, and I think time as well. I mean, the speed to market always. So if you can take a 48-month project and get it in service in 42, that's 6 months of value for the operator. So there's just from a project cost, they don't even see that, but from a life cycle cost, it's something you can gain and monetize.
Yeah, they start generating revenue, 6 months earlier.
Right.
That's big.
Right.
The other thing that I guess this is just my opinion from you guys talking is, with you having the experience on the operator side as well as also probably having to live with the equipment in the field, you understand maybe a little bit better than most engineering companies, what works on paper versus what actually maths out and operationally makes sense. Because I think that's where engineering, you look at the voice of the engineer versus the voice customer, and then most people forget about the voice of the operations team that has to live with the equipment. Yeah. That's probably something that you guys could share some details on how you go about, maybe leveraging some of that experience inside of these projects.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, one of the things that we try to do is maintain a relationship with all of our suppliers. Whether that be the OEM that's moving gas or the filtration company, is what are you doing different? What's new? What have you seen with some of your other clients? What can we as an engineering group input to you to help, reliability, schedule, etc. So we try to really take that and pull it forward even ahead of the, some of the official RFQs that go out, is trying to get with folks to make sure that we don't specify something that doesn't add value. Mm-hmm. Really just like that we said earlier with the network, trying to make sure that we've got our pulse on all the suppliers from the large OEMs to the guy providing the valve in the field, making sure that what we specify is something that's readily available. The last thing we want to do is this 1-inch valve is a 62-week lead time. Like that doesn't help anyone.
Yeah, that's tripping over $100 bills, pick up a nickel.
Right.
Yeah. Same goes with the construction side, right? Keeping those guys involved as early as you can, getting feedback from them. They've got a lot of experience too, and if maybe one thing's a little bit harder to install a certain way than the other in certain circumstances, you may want to go a different route. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned the operators, right? I mean, you got to get them involved too to get feedback. At the end of the day, they're the ones that are going to be living with it, so you want to try to make everyone happy, but the main goal is to reliably move the product, safely. So that's kind of the focus. Get everyone involved as early as you can.
Awesome. If you guys could paint for me, what does it look like from an initial conversation to, the steps that get to a fully developed project that's implemented into the field? How does that look like, if I were, ABC operating company and I'm saying, hey, looks like RPT has some awesome services they can deliver to me. What is the process I could expect to go through from initial conversation through, project, executed, happening in the field?
Yeah, I think it often depends on scope definition. When that conversation happened, we're happy to help define that scope. If it's, hey, I got molecules that are here, I want to get them here, I think I need this size pipe, etc. And we can help do all of those hydraulic studies, scoping documents, permitting, etc. Or it could be further defined that, hey, we've got a project, we think we need this equipment, come join our team and finish the engineering. So I think just depending upon the maturity of the project in terms of scope definition, we can help either way. And really what the further the scope is defined, the quicker we're able to help execute.
Nice. So it's really customized based upon what the customer is looking for.
Right.
That's really cool.
Yep.
It's a little different than, some engineering companies I've been exposed to in the past at previous companies. they almost want to have it their way or the highway, right? And it's like, well, hey, there's some ideas maybe that other folks haven't thought about. I think that's really cool that you guys offer that flexibility. And it sounds like partnership is probably a really big, an important piece of your business as well. You talk about the relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and the best sign of a job well done is the next job. So we really stress that to the team to make sure we get it done right so that there is another phone call. And I think to date we've been able to do that, and we'll strive to continue to do that.
Very cool. What are some of the really, I guess I would use the word lighthouse or important projects y'all are working on that are part of energy transition? Because that's something that, is really talked about a lot in our industry today. And I think a lot of people are interested in what's the next step, because most of our business today in oil and gas obviously centralizes around oil and gas.
Sure.
What are some cool things you guys are working on or see coming down the pike?
Yeah, we've been able to work with a couple of OEMs that are developing some carbon sequestration technologies, and so making it from a on-paper exercise through, prototype number 1, and how do you make it better for 2, 3, and 4. So we've been able to do that for a couple of our clients, and that's been pretty cool. We see that's certainly there's a future there. Just trying to understand some of the credits, et cetera, and uses. If you think about it, we chuckle is some of the biggest uses of CO2 would be, for brewing beer and freezing chickens. And so a lot of where that activity is happening is what drives some of that market. So it's been kind of cool for us to get to understand that. Like, I don't know why in Tyler, Texas, it's important to have this. And it's like, well, it's the chicken capital of the world.
Yeah.
You got to freeze the chicken. Getting to understand some of that and some of those drivers. Then we've dabbled in some hydrogen refueling on the West Coast. So that's been a great project for us, and see that as potential repeat as additional technologies are coming out in that space to make that a bit more efficient process. So moving that technology and those thoughts, and we see it just continuing to move further east in the country. And then even to the further upstream of that with some like power gen for e-frac and the like, that's certainly where our relationship ties together. So really it's just projects. We focus on projects, but we've seen that. And I think there will be, as technology continues to evolve and it makes more sense to monetize some of this, what we'll see is like waste heat recovery on some of these mainline compressor stations, backfeeding the grid, et cetera. So a lot of those type of opportunities.
That's really neat. I personally am always fascinated with the hydrogen economy. I think there's, some really strong fundamentals there where oil and gas companies is, movers of molecules or minerals, right? They're almost like justified as the next right people to take over a lot of those operations. We deal with gas today. What are you seeing as some of the limitations in being able to get that hydrogen to market? Is it pipelines just are not built to be able to handle it? Is it there's, temperature deviation that the pipelines can't handle? What are some of the challenges you all have kind of seen in that piece of the market?
Yeah, I think that's certainly it. The existing infrastructure doesn't support it. So we will need new infrastructure. And then a lot of it's the operating pressures. So trying to make sure you keep the molecule in the pipe. And then, interesting with hydrogen, it's the reverse Joule-Thomson effect. So, it just some of those are just challenges that, traditionally in the space, this is what we're concerned about. And then in hydrogen, there are a few differences, but generally speaking, it's just a pretty hard molecule to keep in the pipe. So making sure that you've got the operating pressures and the equipment, pipe, valves, fittings, et cetera, to make sure that you keep that.
Sounds like good engineering challenge.
Yeah. No, it's been pretty fun.
Something else that I think is really interesting, you guys, you brought up electrification. That's obviously a very, very hot topic in today's market. We're just kind of seeing this proliferation of everybody wanting to go electric, eliminate as many mechanical moving machines as possible. We're seeing the boom in obviously the EV market that honestly I think's tapered off a little bit. What are you guys seeing in the electrification space that you're working on today and can share, and kind of future things that you think are percolating in the market?
Yeah, I think much like the hydrogen, the infrastructure is not quite there, and that's why you see a lot of localized electrification, and I think that'll continue. As certainly in the Permian, there's some remote sites, and you just can't build the infrastructure fast enough. But I do think as that matures and the infrastructure is a bit more robust, that it just changes the source, if you will, right? Where instead of 10 locations, you may have 5. But the same concept, and transmission lines much just like a pipeline, and then you've got a bunch of feeders off of it. So I think it's here to stay. I think natural gas providing fuel to that is more efficient than historic, and so we see kind of our industry dovetail very nicely into the electrification. It's honestly the same equipment.
Yep.
That's making the fire to say, if you will.
Yeah, because the grand scheme of things, whether a turbine, for example, is mechanically driving a compressor, or it's an electric motor driving the compressor still is the same, right?
Sure.
That kind of back, from the output shaft of whatever that prime mover is, to where gas is being compressed and then delivered downstream. That's one thing I think people have been needing to wrap their minds around, is that even if you change the prime mover, everything else, maybe gear ratios or things like that, there's some slight minutia there. But I just also feel, outside of electrification being a lot more efficient, there's also some really cool automation pieces you can do with it as well. Is that something y'all have been involved with, some of these projects on the automation side?
Yeah, we're working a job where we've got 6 gensets, if you will, that are feeding power to the main facility. So we're having to figure out the synchronization, etc. So it's a challenge, I think, but it's just it's a math problem.
Yeah.
And the experts will get there. So I think it's just the focus of who used to do that versus where it's happening now, where that happened all the time, and these power plants, we're just taking the power plant and moving it to a more localized area. So technology's there. It's just getting the right folks involved to help.
Got it. I wanted to go back to the carbon sequestration piece. Outside of obviously being really a cool idea for, freezing chickens and brewing beer, which sign me up all day long to use my carbon for that. Are you seeing any movement in enhanced oil recovery? Because we've used CO2 for fracking, for example, traditionally in the oil and gas business, maybe not to the level that it's been, put into practice at a mass scale. But are you seeing other opportunities to take that CO2 and use it inside of formations or around some other, interesting application pieces?
Yeah, I think that, I spoke of some of the technology with the OEMs that we're working on. That's really their base business model, is to do that the molecule never leaves the site. Comes out of the ground and then you send it back in there. So they're often doing it already, or were doing it 20 years ago, and now with additional, technology gains, able to take that and then, generate their own CO2 to put back in for enhanced oil recovery. So it's a beautiful business model. I think, in Canada, it's happening much quicker than in the U.S., just due to some credits and how the math works. But we certainly see that, maturing probably in the next 5 to 10 years in the U.S. as well.
That's exciting. And, what I see that being is more the well-to-wheel emissions is what I like to kind of refer to, that kind of piece. Is if you're using natural gas coming out of the well, generate electricity, you're capturing CO2 to whatever level it may be, sequestering that, storing it to go ahead and enhance production. There are so many pieces of our industry in the oil and gas space and energy in general that I think the public doesn't realize just how far we are trying to take it to reduce that overall life cycle of those emissions. It's pretty exciting. Is that something that you're seeing as the main driver Ryan and Tony, is this, kind of a lot of these projects come to surface. Obviously, there's a financial reason people are doing it, right? But, I feel like there's also true tangible results that are being realized from a lot of these projects.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to be good stewards to the environment. We only got one Earth, so I think the operators have certainly, as they've made some public statements on, the drive to zero, et cetera, that's where the investment's going to go into to help, further reduce their footprint. And I think it's just a very aware operating group, and folks are certainly kind of putting their money where their mouth is. Or did I say that backwards? May have to edit that one out.
All good. Something that I was interested in is, you've spoken a lot about operators and folks that are, having you kind of manage these engineering projects because they're living with the equipment in the field, that they're the ones that are actually the end user in most cases. Have you guys been working with anybody that is actually, and you brought up the manufacturer piece here, just there's a lot of OEMs out there, a lot of people building equipment, building different things and stuff that might need engineering services. Could you guys walk me through, if I was a equipment manufacturer, and I'm looking at taking a new concept technology to market, could be in the electrification space, could be in the gas processing, gas handling space. Are those folks that you work with as well, that you would actually do like as-built drawings to provide essentially a blueprint as to how to put a piece of equipment together?
Yeah, and I think certainly, and with a lot of the OEMs, if they're trying to bring a new product or technology to the market, in order for them to further sell or define that to their client, they kind of have to have the whole life cycle together. So they've often engaged us to do the feed study. Is this tangible? If we were to go bolt it on to an existing asset, what does that look like? And then further, can you now design it and take it to fruition? So we support those opportunities as well, and we see that as these OEMs at times are struggling to get a product launched because they're not able to necessarily sell it to the operator, that we're able to kind of help put that together and kind of collaborative marketing opportunities.
Very cool. And that's something I've seen, that OEMs, they build a really good widget. There's a piece of that puzzle they design really, really well, but it feels like they almost get lost in their own kind of principles of how that equipment should be put into use or how it should be packaged or integrated, right? And I would imagine that's where you guys, again, kind of bring some of that experience where you've lived with equipment in the field. Man, I'll tell you, one time, this piece of crap valve that was installed, and it took me 12 hours to go ahead and disassemble that when it should have taken 30 minutes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Those are things that I imagine you guys bring to the table that would help an OEM go, you know what, this is a differentiation why that piece of equipment would work better than these other three people, right?
Yep, exactly. No, and that's what they're, that is our value prop for sure, and that's often what they come to us to pretend like we know nothing and tell me what we need to do to get this to go.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Let's shift gears a little bit to talking about some of the reason. Well, first off, want to kind of figure out, what gets you guys out of the bed in the morning as a leadership team, not only from a personal drive perspective, but, making sure that you're setting yourselves up to facilitate the best experience for your employees and your team and your customers.
Yeah, I think they all go hand in hand. I think generally speaking, we want to be good people. We want to be a good place to work. You spend a lot of time with your coworkers. You might as well have a little bit of fun doing it. So it is exciting, and being able to kind of pass the torch to the next level, and then give additional responsibilities to some of the folks on our team. We're a relatively young organization, but we've seen a lot in our 5 years, and then it's been cool as you've got those folks that have been with us for 3, 4, 5 years, grow into leaders within the organization at this point where they were managing. For example, we had a gentleman that came in as a scheduler, had not really done a lot of scheduling. Ultimately, he's been leading the scheduling team for a few years and now growing into a further leader. So that, for me, that's the greatest excitement that we have, and the opportunities to do that, and as well as other folks where he came on as a field engineer, and now he's a project manager running a big job. So it's really cool to be able to see folks take that experience, take the responsibility, and grow and really make the project kind of molded with our vision, but executed a little differently at times. So that's a lot of fun to watch.
It's really cool. Tony, what about you?
Yeah, I think, kind of like Ryan mentioned, we give people the freedom and opportunity to grow, right? Professionally and however they want to grow here. I think, we all offer kind of different experiences outside of just the energy industry. I think everyone kind of has their own story. So, we want people to be able to come here and maybe if they weren't doing something before, try something that they haven't done before. And, it keeps it fresh and really understanding the whole business is what we would like all our employees to kind of get to. Not just kind of pigeonholed in one thing necessarily, but just understand how the industry and the business works. And when you've got everyone firing on all cylinders and everyone's kind of BD and their expertise, you really start to flourish. And I think we're starting to see that now, kind of in our growth right now. We're getting more employees. We're getting folks. There's a lot of talent in Houston in general, getting more folks on board. And so far, there hasn't been any complaints about working here. I think it's a good place to work, and people enjoy coming here and enjoy the people that are here, too.
Yeah, I mean, we're a service organization, so bottom line, we are who our team is. So trying to make sure that we can highlight everyone's strengths, and like Tony said, at some point, everyone becomes sales or business development. Develop that relationship with the client and hopefully have a 20-30 year relationship with them.
That's awesome. And in a service organization like, sales or business development, they sell the first one, but it's the experience and what you deliver to the customer that keeps them coming back after the fact, right?
Yeah.
No, I love that. And I also appreciate that I got to, saying it's, you got to be your most comfortable being uncomfortable in a situation. That's where you really find those growth opportunities for yourself, where you kind of in your career early on might have thought, hey, I do really well in this vertical, but until you step out and get to see where, you actually add some value and have a certain set of talents to fit into a different part of the organization, that's a really cool growth experience and opportunity, and appreciate that you guys are facilitating that from a leadership team perspective. I think that's how you build a really, really strong team.
Yep, agreed.
That's awesome. On the topic of, I wanted to shift to this. You started out each individually, your careers, differently, right? You look at a lot of the young people that are out there that are looking at getting into oil and gas or engineering. What's something that you would recommend or say to those young people who are interested in getting into that space, and a reason also why they might want to come to RPT?
Yeah, I think the first one is just listen. We got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So when you're new, soak up whatever you can, be a part of any conversation, and then be, asked to be a part of conversations. If there's a meeting you want to attend, or a lunch and learn, or a conference even, speak up and challenge the status quo. And then, from a lot of our team, we have a fair amount of field experience. And so I would say, although that may be the uncomfortable or the challenging part, that's really where the rubber hits the road. That's where the issues are going to bubble to the top and quickly. You don't get to say, I'll get back to you in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And so that challenges you as an individual, as a thinker, and then being part of that team. I mean, that's truly where the team comes together in the most intimate sense. And so I would say anytime you get the opportunity to go into the field, whether it be for a week or a year, certainly do it, because that's, the learning curve is exponential.
Like it. Tony, what about yourself?
I think you said it well. Being uncomfortable is really where you grow. And I think, everyone that I know that's kind of stepped out of their comfort zone and put themselves in maybe a risky situation or something that they didn't really know much about, you're going to learn more, and you're going to grow. So, I think a lot of people have the tendency to just kind of do what they're comfortable doing, and to break that, you just got to try something new. And I think for us, like Ryan said, going to the field is definitely something that opens your eyes a little bit. You get different perspectives. Here we're doing drawings and certain things like that, or other deliverables that are in an office setting. But when you get out into the actual practical application, you're going to learn a lot fast. Like Ryan's experience at the front end, right? Mm-hmm. However many months he was there, he really got years of experience. Right. So I think that kind of just echoes across really any industry, and you got to set your mind to being able to take that risk and be comfortable in your ability and your ability to learn something new. I think there's also an aspect of having a good mentor, mm-hmm. Having somebody that you feel comfortable going and asking questions to anytime that's got the experience. You can really accelerate your learning curve pretty quick if you've got somebody that's there for you. So, coupling those few things together, I think that kind of really will, develop a lot of experience quick and, make you a good, strong player in the industry.
I like it, man. That's something I've always gravitated towards early in my career and even now, right? I still love to soak up information. It's those old crusty, guys that, kind of maybe a little grumpy and rough on the edges on the outside, but you end up breaking the ice with them and being able to soak up, for lack of a better term, the immense amount of knowledge and experience that they have where, you might not experience it yourself, but they're going to guide you and go, you know what, I made this mistake, right? Yep. And kind of my grandfather always said, what separates a wise man from a smart man is a wise man learns from the mistakes of others, smart man learns from his own mistakes. You still got to make your own mistakes, but if you can take some good orderly direction from somebody to avoid having that happen in the future, it's not a bad policy.
Yeah, and I think most, with the right attitude, anyone's willing to share. If you come in to not tell them what to do, but come in and say, I want to learn. Yep. You've been doing this for 30 years. What is the best way to do it? That really can break some barriers and allow that open dialogue. And really, you're on the same team. You ought to be able to help each other.
Yeah, in my experience, those guys want to share the knowledge, right? It's just really, like you said, your attitude approaching them.
Yep.
Right? Like if you want to get some knowledge out of them, then they're willing to share it, if you're going to use it.
I mean, most people who have that experience and knowledge, like that's their legacy, right?
Absolutely.
Once they're gone, and that's been a big challenge we've had in our industry, right? Is the big crew change that's been talked about. I think we're kind of going through the very early stages of that, where it kind of ties back into the talent piece. You've got all of these folks who have been able to see the industry transition over multiple years, but a lot of the ways that we do things have still remained kind of same process-wise. It's just how we handle, the prime mover piece or maybe some safety aspects. Has attracting talent been a challenge for RPT? You guys brought up we got, a large talent pool, obviously, here in Houston. But has that been a challenge for you to be able to attract the right talent and different principles from an engineering perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, it's been a challenge for everyone in the industry. One is trying to get good talent back in the industry, that oil and gas is not bad. There is a long future. I mean, I heard when I was going to school that oil and gas had 10 years left, and now we're talking about what are we going to do for the next 50.
Yeah.
So it'll certainly be prevalent through the end of my career and through almost everyone on the teams. I don't see the end of it. We are cognizant of I'll say burning it more efficiently, et cetera. And so I think that just prolongs the life. Talent has been one of our largest challenges, and that we're just trying to make sure it's an attractive place to work. We've got lots of good fun projects coming up, and being able to provide the opportunities for folks to do something different has kind of eased or lessened that burden on a guy that's been designing compressor stations for 30 years is interested in something different. We have that, and so that's been one of the selling points that we've been able to provide is you're not going to do the same thing every day.
Well, yeah, and your employees are your best way to attract talent. They've got networks. The word travels fast, like, hey, this is a good place to work, or, the opposite for some organizations. So we've been lucky there with, the folks that we bring on. They're happy here, and they share that with their network. And when there's opportunities for maybe something that they know somebody, it gives them, it
Good
helps
referral.
us recruit. Yeah.
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 What are you doing to speak to the young people that are in college, kind of early days of their training or, schooling for engineering? You guys doing any recruiting, doing internships? How are you kind of going after early days some of those folks that are looking to come into the engineering business?
Yeah, I guess probably the last 2 years we've been heavily involved with a lot of the career fairs for the couple of major universities in Texas. That's how I got my first opportunity, Rhett as well, through a college career fair. So we see that as an opportunity to get out there. We've got a few young grads on our team. At this point, our core is developed, where we're able to provide that mentorship to a young person. So I think kind of our next wave of growth will be a lot of that, attracting talent straight out of school. The co-op programs that a lot of these universities have really allow these kids to come in. I say these kids like I'm a 70-year-old person, but allow them to join us and provide valuable contributions quite quickly, where there's not a 12-month learning period where you do this, and we give those responsibilities to the folks quite quickly. Kind of let our project teams help bring those younger kids, new grads up quickly and expose them to a lot. And again, we want to provide that field opportunity as well. We think it's very important. So again, whether it be a week, 3 weeks, a month, saying yes to those opportunities from RPT and investing in those folks that way.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, we've hired a few new grads, and I think exposing them to different things. You never really know, I don't think, when you're kind of getting into the industry, what's going to kind of excite you about this business. So exposing them to different aspects of the work, whether it be project services or if they're an engineer, some engineering, maybe project management, maybe even some BD aspects.
Mm-hmm.
I think you really got to put somebody in a little bit of everything to kind of see maybe where their interest lies as well. And that's where I think you're going to get longevity, on both sides, from somebody that stays excited about your company and kind of can grow with your company, which is what we're looking for. We want to hire people, to kind of go on the ride with us and grow, and getting in early.
Yep.
I think is one of those things when you're a new business that provides that opportunity. You get a lot more visibility across the company than you would maybe in a larger company, where you may kind of get lost in some certain department or something.
Sure. No, I would imagine inside of a smaller organization, you're kind of the foundation in the growth period, right? Like that is the core team, the folks that are going to be there to be able to establish a culture, cadence of how you guys do different things inside of the organization. I think that's what is really attractive probably to most young people, is being able to know when they come into an organization, they can almost get immersed very quickly in understanding the full spectrum of everything that's involved in that business. That's really, really cool. Have you had the hardest time with attracting new talent, it being around any certain sector, whether it's mechanical engineering, electrical engineering? What are you seeing as like some of the more important principles of engineering that you guys are looking for today?
Yeah, electrical's been probably our largest challenge, and I think it's hard to see that as a kid or as a college student, that there's electrical engineering opportunities in oil and gas. And really there's a ton of it, and you're going to get exposed to a lot more than just simply designing a substation or transmission line. So that's been probably one of our harder finds and sells is to get some of the college kids with an electrical engineering degree to see that there's work here for them. And quite honestly, just in the market, I think that's one of the hardest positions to fill, kind of across the spectrum of work.
No, I definitely concur. Those those folks who have those electrical engineering backgrounds, I would say in general, they're going after EV car market, right. Transmission distribution. And I feel like, those folks have actually a much better opportunity to have a longer run rate from a growth perspective inside of our businesses, specifically because there is so much need for that talent. And they also, I love that you bring up, they get like more of a well-rounded approach, right? It's not just this one kind of piece of the puzzle you're looking at. It's really like a broader application engineering. How do you bring everything together to make it integrate properly, right? That's something I think you guys do that's really, really cool here, is it's not just a piece of the puzzle. It's really taking all the puzzle pieces, putting it together, and making it fit right, work right for the customer, and adding some tangible at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's very, very cool.
Yep.
So shifting gears to, I think it's important for us as businesses to highlight things that we're doing to give back to the community. Is there something you guys could talk about that you're doing inside of the, Houston area? Could be a broader, state of Texas type of deal that y'all are doing to give back to the community?
Yeah, one of the things we do, we sponsor a cook-off team at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo called 300 Justice Road, and they're a charity organization that's centered around, helping veterans transition, and also a commanding officer, a SEAL teammate that passed away during a training exercise. So that's near and dear to my heart. Having the military background, I think supporting the veterans and their transition out is a big deal. And also, we also support the Houston Food Bank multiple times a year, kind of open it up to the employees to come join us, bring the family, kids, go there, and whatever they have us do, you never know, but it's always exciting to do that. And, one of the other things we do, we listen to our employees. If they have something they're passionate about, we tell them, let us know, if it's something that you want us to support. Just tell us, and we'll look into it. As far as everyone kind of has their own passion, so I think that's important to know. Our employees to know that we're there for them too, and what they want to support. So
that's awesome, and I think it's fantastic. You guys are doing that for the local Houston community, but on the veterans piece, like that's something that's near and dear to my heart as well. And I feel like, not to get on a soapbox or anything, but, we do a really, really bad job in this country on after veterans come back, from protecting us and making sure that the creature comforts we have every single day are protected. The little conveniences we take for granted, right? I feel like there's so much more that we can do as individuals and country to be able to facilitate those folks coming back from deployment and being ready to, accept them with open arms and make sure they've got all the things they need to be able to be successful. Because that can be a tough transition, going from being on deployment to coming back to, let's say civilian life, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that something that you're a veteran yourself? Are there any other veterans you guys have here at the organization?
I don't think at this time we have any veterans. I'm probably the only one at the moment. Yeah. We've had a couple in the past, but yeah, I mean, I stay close to a lot of my counterparts, and supporting what the 300 Justice Road does. Also, there's other things that happen outside of just the livestock show and rodeo that I try to get involved with as well. I was lucky in my transition. Somebody gave me an opportunity pretty quick after I got out. So that I know can make a difference.
Yep.
So just having somewhere to go and somebody to kind of hang out with, it could be that simple, I think, for a veteran to know, hey, you almost need a distraction to focus on. You were very focused on something for however long, whether it was 2 years, 4 years, however long you were there.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, you gotta pivot, and that can take some time depending on who you are. So
totally,
I think you got to be there for people and just have a dialogue and give them something to focus on.
That's awesome. If people are interested in 300 Justice Road, is there a website, Tony, that they could go and check it out, or something they could figure out how to participate and support?
They do have a website. Quick Google search, 300 Justice Road, will bring you pretty much directly there. It talks a little bit about what they do. And there's some contacts. If somebody's interested, I can point them to help out.
That's awesome.
Or they can contact me, and I'll. Yeah. I'm very involved as well. So.
That's fantastic. Appreciate what you're doing for our troops and veterans. That's awesome, man.
Thank you.
One thing I like to do also on the show to kind of, end on a note of what y'all are doing individually. Is there a shameless plug, something that you're doing personally, you enjoy doing to support the community, or just something you want to kind of name drop that you guys may be involved with or enjoy doing?
Yeah, I've had a little bit of health challenges the last few years, so I haven't been as involved, but there for a while I worked at Fort Bend Ramps that was building handicap access to those in Fort Bend County. So I look forward to getting re-engaged with that group, and it's I enjoy building things, and so it's easy to knock out in a weekend, and the impact is immediate. Makes you feel pretty good to help some of those folks. You don't always get to pick when you're going to have that challenge, so it's a good group of folks that get together at least once a month to do that. So looking forward to getting re-engaged in that group.
That's super cool. Tony, anything you want to drop or do what I call the shameless plug?
I'll just circle back to the veterans thing. I mean, that's pretty much been my focus. Outside of just, taking care of my daughter and doing things for her, it's, time gets consumed quickly. So no shameless plug for me.
All right. Well, taking care of your daughter, that's very, very important.
Yes.
So, we only got so much time during the day, and you got to figure out how do you chop and kind of divide it up so that you give everything that needs attention.
Absolutely.
It's important. Well, gents, I really appreciate you coming on the Energy Espresso. If we could maybe drop, you guys got LinkedIn profiles, folks want to reach out to you. How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our RPT Alliance is very involved on LinkedIn as a company, but also individually certainly can reach out as well. So, and then through our website, we've got a contact page if you look for more information, looking for a career, etc. So, certainly can go to rptalliance.com and find all of that.
Fantastic. Well, appreciate you guys coming on the show, and be staying in touch. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. And thank you for joining the Energy Espresso. Let's keep the energy industry energized.